Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Yesterday's satellite imagery showing not too bad of conditions here across southern Alaska. Some clouds up to the north there, and then down south, low pressure rolling up into Kodiak Island, and then another system back out over the Alaska Peninsula with clouds covering much of the southeast Bering Sea, and farther west, a lot of cold air pouring out of the Russian Far East southward, all the way to and beyond the Aleutians. And then over the southeast coast, we had this band of moisture dissipating in place there, but more clouds rolling up from the south, and then a system here just coming onto the chart, which today rolled northward here into the Gulf of Alaska. There are storm warnings out tonight for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and the Panhandle, actually due to this next one, which will be coming up pretty rapidly. This one moving inland, and behind the front, the sky's breaking out a little bit there on the lee side of the mountain ranges, back down into the Matanuska Valley, northern Cook Inlet, but lots of clouds back out to the west, spreading northward, front pushing well inland into Canada this afternoon. And that cold air taking a turn to the southeast here and making a pretty good jog across the eastern Aleutians and the western Alaska Peninsula, and then some clearing right through here. And then you have the opposite flow, southeast flow, with the warmer air streaming across the southwest interior up toward Norton Sound, and rolling that through again. And this system backing right up over south central Alaska, mostly aloft there, and the front weakening as it comes inland, but definitely pulled a lot of warm air with it as it came up. And then this system here will be coming northward tonight and bringing storm force winds and actually high wind warnings along the southeast coast up to the Yakutat area for pretty strong wind gusts. But on the chart for this afternoon, frontal position roughly right through here, mixed precipitation behind the front in the warmer air, mostly in the form of snow though over the Alaska Range and whatever fell over the southwest interior, but definitely mixed condition here over the inland areas to just flat out rain right along the North Gulf Coast there, and then becoming more showery over the Panhandle. A little bit of a break going on there now ahead of this next developing system there pulling northward, and a couple of lows out here to the southwest. This one just right over the Alaska Peninsula, and the other one near Nunivak Island. And so we've got northeast winds up here over the north, 15 to 30 miles per hour, especially Cape Lisburne and Point Hope. Lighter winds back along the Arctic coast and North Slope. And the cold air streaming southeastward here with a lot of snow showers for the Alaska Peninsula on out to the Aleutians. A little bit of a ridge out there for the far western marine zone area for lighter winds and less precipitation. Well, again, this developing storm tonight is going to roll northward pretty rapidly and bring some strong winds. Again, storm warnings out for the southeast coast tonight, North Gulf Coast, even into Prince William Sound, and high wind warnings there for along the Panhandle here, and areas to the north for south to southeast winds gusting over 60 miles per hour as this system rolls northward. Rain, periods of possibly heavy at times across the entire area there. Again, working south to north, mixed precipitation, not all that heavy over Prince William Sound, and drying out over the Copper River Basin, winds diminishing as well from what they were this afternoon in those windier areas. Look for some clearing north of the Alaska Range over the interior there with little, if any, precipitation. Even from the Brooks Range, just some scattered snow showers on out to the Arctic coast. Still pretty breezy up along the northwest coast there from Point Lay on down to about Kivalina, and snow possibilities here across the Seward Peninsula into Kotzebue Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Snow and blowing snow, winds will continue to gust there to 40 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour into the evening like they did today, and then gradually diminish here for the Pribilof Island areas, but still pretty windy conditions. And the low sitting there just west of Nunivak Island. Not enough wind really for blowing snow there for St. Lawrence Island, so not too bad in that area, just some periods of light snow and snowy conditions right down to the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians on Unalaska, Dutch Harbor, and Nikolsky as that cold air continues to dive southeastward. Looks like a pretty dry night for Kodiak Island with light winds and snow showers with lighter winds out over the western Aleutians. And then for tomorrow, by tomorrow afternoon, this low will have tracked inland and weakened considerably into a trough, but that will keep the strong winds going early in the day until this lifts northward and dissipates here, but a pretty good gradient following it in behind. So starting out pretty strong, but gradually diminishing in the afternoon. Stays pretty rainy here across all of the southeast coast with mixed precipitation over toward the border and higher elevations. Mostly snow over the inland areas. This is just an area of snow showers here along the North Gulf Coast areas. Rain showers at the lower elevations down towards sea level. Staying pretty dry, not really a big, it's a light precipitation pattern there for areas north of the Alaska Range. Tanana Valley all the way up to the Brooks Range. Some scattered snow showers, cloudy skies out here to the west. More snow showers, though, over Bristol Bay with that southwest flow streaming right into the area there. Numerous snow showers to the Alaska Peninsula, but westerly winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, maybe gusts to 30. And that same pattern extends westward out over the Aleutians and then tapers off again out towards Shemya and that area with really the west coast here not looking all that bad. Just some scattered snow showers with light winds. And also up on the north slope, flurries or snow showers, but nothing significant as far as accumulations go. And you can see this system moves in. Another one down here on the chart, which Saturday, it's kind of iffy as to how strong it'll be. But something in this position, actually the Saturday forecast could be a map tomorrow. It looks a lot different from this one. But right now, we'll bring wind and rain up, approaching the southern panhandle again. And actually stays pretty wet there along the entire southeast coast, but rainfall amounts won't be all that heavy. And then more showery conditions of a mixed nature there from Yakutat into Cordova. And probably looking at snow for Prince William Sound, Valdez. Got colder air coming back in from the west here. So it looks like a pretty good chance of snow for south central Alaska, Cook Inlet, Manauskas, Susitna Valley. Throughout the day on Saturday, just some showers from the Alaska Range and really not much in the way of anything to the north. Light winds, variably cloudy skies all the way up to the Arctic coast. We've got snow showers here over the western interior with southwest flow coming in off the Bering Sea there, but pretty cold air mass, so no chance of that being anything other than snow. What does fall, trough right here, enhances the snow showers across the eastern Aleutians, Pribilof snow showers, but you'll lose the blowing snow. So winds will be lighter and precipitation lighter as well. Alaska Peninsula, chance of snow showers, and another front pushes some rain and snow into the far western Aleutians and doesn't quite make it to AKwx, at least through Saturday afternoon or evening. Temperature-wise today, all in the 40s here across the southeast coast. 41 at Yakutat, Juneau 43 degrees, and Sitka sitting right at 45, as was Klawock and Annette. Otherwise 43 there, really not much different at Wrangell and Petersburg. 39 Cordova, Valdez 36 degrees, and 39 there at Whittier. Kenai up to 40, Talkeetna at 40, and really much of Anchorage area northward there was at least in the 40s at some point during the day today. Near 40 there for the Copper River Basin. Northway, north of the mountains, just 1 degree above zero, but Fairbanks up to 21. And I believe that's 42 degrees. I think that's the Denali plot there. If it's not Denali, then it's Healy or Nenana. I don't think it's Nenana, so it's probably something a little more higher up in the elevation. Anyway, Tanana, 13 degrees, -9 over at Fort Yukon, 16 at Bettles, 3 degrees there at Anatuvik near the pass, and temperatures along the Arctic coast, away from the coastline, running 10 to 15 below zero. out near the coast, right around 5 below on average, and then much milder here over the northwest. You get south of the mountains or southwest into the 20s to 27 there at Kotzebue, but Cape Lisburne still at 3 below. And then the colder air back out here toward the Bering Strait with Wales 13 above, Shishmaref at 19, up to 28 though at Nome, while Savunga was 19 degrees. Mid-20s from Unalakleet down to St. Michael, 29, Macoriac, and 30 degrees at Bethel. And in the 20s there up the river valley to McGrath with 23. Otherwise, out to the southwest, Pribilof, St. Paul, 22 degrees today. Strong northwest winds, snow and blowing snow there, continue into this evening. And 29 on Alaska, 30 degrees at Adak, right at the freeze mark for Shimia. Alaska Peninsula, upper 20s there, Falls Pass, Cold Bay, and then mid-30s Sand Point. Lower 30s there for Pilot Point, and then 37 for King Salmon. Kodiak, near or just under 40 degrees today. Lows for tonight dropping down to lower 30s here for Kodiak Island across that area. 20s to the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay. Actually, all the Aleutians looking mid-20s for the lows tonight. 22 at St. Paul, as well as along the southwest coast. 6 above Gamble, St. Lawrence Island. Teens and 20s here over the western and southwest interior. And upper 20s for south central Alaska and the Susitna Valley locations. Teens for the Copper River Basin, kind of a big range over there today with, and even north of the mountains there below zero. Not dropping much farther below zero than what you are right now, and staying on this side of zero for the Tanana Valley. Fort Yukon may drop to 1 below. Otherwise, temperatures right around 40 for the Panhandle. And the highs tomorrow don't rise much. Lower to mid-40s there for much of the southeast coastal Sitka. Forecasting a high of 47 degrees. And pretty mild again here over southern Alaska, 30 to 35, maybe warmer along the coast, 37 for Kodiak. Teens, upper teens to mid-20s, the Tanana Valley areas, teens for the Yukon Flats over toward Bettles, as well as the Brooks Range, and it looks like much of the Arctic coast will rise to or a little above zero tomorrow. North Slope, though, area staying a little below. Otherwise, 18, the high for Savunga, 27 Macoriac, 29 for St. Paul, lower to mid-30s for the Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula. Flying weather tomorrow morning, a swath of IFR from St. Lawrence Island down along the southwest coast here, inland and then back to the west still for the Pribilofs, on into Bristol Bay. Conditions improving west and southwest. Marginal becomes VFR for the eastern Aleutians. Areas of marginal VFR, central Aleutians on out to Shimia, and just some marginal VFR possible for the eastern Arctic coast and maybe some here along the Brooks Range, but really pretty good here through much of the interior with this low stuff there on the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. Marginal VFR Prince William Sound and marginal VFR from the Gulf of Alaska all the way covering all of the southeast coast. And then for tomorrow afternoon, throw some IFR in there, especially Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, and then coming in from Dixon entrance down south, marginal VFR, areas of Copper River Basin, Talkeetna Mountains, up to the Alaska Range, back down into Prince William Sound, and could be some IFR up here over the mountains near and north of Fairbanks. VFR, though, from the Susitna Valley northwestward across McGrath, all the way up to the North Slope. Brooks Range looking really good. IFR areas of central western Arctic coast, northern Bering Sea, again right along the, from St. Lawrence Island down along the coast to just touching the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Looking pretty good out here now for the Pribilofs, almost right on the edge of the VFR. And for passes, Anatuvik, IFR early becoming VFR. Early IFR also for Adigan, but improving rapidly. Lake Clark and Merrow, marginal VFR, improving to VFR, probably by noon. And that same forecast also good for rainy, windy VFR. Isabel, looks like starting out VFR, moisture could come in and knock it down to marginal type conditions there. That's not for certain though. And Mentasta looks like they'll stay VFR the entire day, as will Tanita. And Portage, look for some gradual improvements, say starting out IFR, becoming marginal. And for Chilcoot and White, looks like just flat out IFR. Freezing levels at the surface south of the Aleutians, cutting up just east of King Salmon across Iliamna Lake, up into the southern Susitna Valley areas, and then north of the coastline, and across the Panhandle, and then 2,000 to 4,000 foot freezing levels here for the southeast coast. Icing tomorrow, one batch up here along the coast there above about 4,000 feet, a break, and then another batch down over the southern southeast coast of the light isolated rime variety mostly. Could be some mixed, but all above 4,000 to 5,000 feet. And also out here over the southeast Bering Sea, St. Matthew Island, down to the Alaska Peninsula. Got some, could be some trace amounts or light icing there. Nothing too serious through this area. Otherwise, no icing at all for the remainder of the state. And looking at the jet stream here, well south of even the Aleutians, and then cuts northward here and northeast, and that's cutting across Dixon Entrance. Then we've got this southeast flow, 40 to 50 knots, coming across Kodiak Island, northward there over Kivalina, and 9,000 foot winds, southeasterlies, 25 to 35 knots through the interior, more easterly at about 30 there for the Arctic coast, and the low up over the northern Bering Sea, westerlies, 35 knots right across the Pribilofs, also west-southwest for the eastern Aleutians, 20 to 25, the Alaska Peninsula, westward out to Shemya. And then we've got those strong winds, especially early on here, 50 to 60 knots. This all coming down in the afternoon. And same forecast, 3,000 feet, looking 25 to 50 knots. The stronger winds this evening. Tonight will be late tonight coming up in the south, lifting northward tomorrow and then on into Canada. And again, in the afternoon, these values coming down south to southeast, 20 to 25 up to 35 knots along the coast. Westerlies, 20 to 40 knots, strongest near the Pribilofs, and lighter down along the Aleutians. For turbulence, occasional moderate chop here, southwest coast, maybe in Nunivak Island, back down across the Pribilofs, light to isolated moderate conditions for the Alaska Peninsula, maybe Unalaska area, and possibly for the far western Aleutians. And then areas of severe turbulence as that storm comes up tonight and early tomorrow morning, but by tomorrow afternoon, just look for an area of moderate chop there across the Panhandle. All those conditions improving throughout the day. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
The Great Orion Nebula.
Welcome to Stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer from the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. We're here to help you find your way around the sky.
One of the best things about winter is that it always brings the return of one of the true wonders of the universe.
That wouldn't be snow, would it?
No, not quite, James, but it's something that is very easy to spot in the winter sky, an object in deep space.
Sweet. Let's show you.
We have our skies set up for any night this week at about 7:30 p.m. In the southeast, you'll see what has to be the second most familiar pattern of stars, after the Big Dipper, that is. A pattern which is loaded with bright stars known as Orion the Hunter.
To best find him, look for his belt of 3 stars in a row. These are the stars Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka.
Above these 3 belt stars, you'll see 2 brilliant stars marking Orion's shoulders, Bellatrix and Betelgeuse. And below his belt, 2 other stars mark his ankle and his knee, Rigel and Saiph.
We often talk about Orion's bright stars, but for this episode, we would like to zero in on one of Orion's more subtle objects. Look below the belt stars for 3 much dimmer stars, the stars we call the Sword of Orion. There, we will find one of the most awesome wonders of our nearby universe.
If you look very carefully at these 3 stars, you'll notice that no matter how sharp your eyesight, the middle star always seems to look fuzzy or slightly out of focus. And that's because this star is not a star at all, but something we call a nebula.
A nebula is a cosmic cloud of gas and dust, and the Great Nebula of Orion is actually a stellar recycling center. Within this nebula, brand new stars have been and are still being born from the surrounding cloud.
In fact, you can see this nebula using even the cheapest pair of binoculars. This cloud is illuminated by 4 recently born stars arranged in the shape of a baseball diamond called the trapezium. And these 4 stars can actually be seen with a small telescope. Now, although the Orion Nebula looks tiny, in reality, its size is mind-boggling. Believe it or not, there is enough material in this nebula to produce over 10,000 stars the size of our sun. But if you really want to be impressed, check out the width of the Orion Nebula. As nebulae go, this one is gigantic, spanning over 30 light years in diameter.
A light year is not a measure of time, but a measure of distance. Space is so big and the stars are so far away that we astronomers don't measure the distances between the stars in terrestrial units like miles or kilometers. We use the term light year.
Light travels at a whopping 186,000 miles per second, which is almost 670 million miles per hour. This means that if you were to travel at the speed of light from the Earth to the Moon, you could make the trip in a little less than 2 seconds. If you traveled from the Earth to the Sun at the same speed, you could make the trip in a little over 8 minutes. And if you were to travel from Earth to Pluto at the speed of light, you could make the trip in a little over 5 hours. So we're going to fly you through the Orion Nebula and take a closer look at this star factory.
The force of gravity is bringing clouds of gases together, and when they begin fusing elements, bang, a star is born.
Modern telescopes have allowed us to look deep inside the nebula and see newborn stars and disks of material.
These disks could be forming planets like those in our solar system. It could take thousands or even millions of years for these protoplanetary disks to turn into solar systems. But we'll keep watching.
And you should too. Look for the Orion Nebula this week and peer deep into space. It's all there when you keep looking up.
Very few changes today in the sea ice analysis from yesterday, or very few big changes. But it looks like over the next few days, winds are kind of going to become southerly a little bit or lighter, and really not too conducive to further ice development. But then again, the temperatures aren't expected to really get that much warmer either. So this will probably pretty much hold through the weekend. And then for the southeast coast, again, the storm's out tonight, tomorrow, lingering there on the extreme north coast early on, but even those will come down under storm force to gales probably by noon, give or take. Gales the remainder of the coast, but really dropping off there in the south. Gales are Clarence Strait, 30 knots Stevens Passage. South could start out with storm force southerlies for Lynn Canal coming down to 45 knots and then on down lighter as you head in toward evening. And then for Saturday, call it south 25 here for the south coast, gales on the north coast, gales once again there for northern Lynn Canal, and 30 knots south to southeast winds for the central and southern waters. Prince William Sound, southeast 15, southerlies at 20 for the North Gulf Coast, all the way down across the Barrens, 20 knot northeast winds for Cook Inlet, southwest 20 Shelikof Strait, and 25 knots there along the east side of Kodiak. And then for Saturday, southwesterlies for Cook Inlet, 10 to 20 knots, west 20 knots here for Kamishak Bay. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands and the western North Gulf Coast. Kick into minimum gales there for the eastern coast, and west 15 for Prince William Sound. Alaska Peninsula, west 25 to 30 knots. Small craft advisories really all the way up to Sitkinak, southwest 20 for Bristol Bay. And then for Saturday, 30 knots from the southwest or west-southwest, 14-foot seas coming into Bristol Bay. And then southwest 25 here for the Alaska Peninsula with seas 12 to 13 feet, and west 25 from Castle Cape to Sitkinak. Aleutians, Fox Islands, west 25, mostly 30 knots, 20 to 25 knot winds, west-southwest central Aleutians, northwest 25, 11-foot seas out west. Those become westerly there, actually from Atka, Adak, all the way back to the west, mostly 25 to 30 knots. Some areas will be lighter, like right through there. Southwest 25 to 30 for the Fox Islands or the southwest coast. Northerlies there 20 to 30 knots. Northwest 30 knots from the northern Bering Sea. Westerly gales continue for the Pribilofs. And for Saturday, west 35 again for St. Paul and St. George. Northwest 30 here over the St. Matthew Island. South of Nunivak Island 25 knots. North of the island out of the east at 15. And the Arctic coast, east-northeast, on the light side for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow. Central coast, all the way down to the Bering Strait, you've got brisk wind advisories, 25 to 30 knot winds, mostly from the northeast, a little more easterly here for the Chukchi Sea. And then those drop back considerably, just down to 10 knots. Now keep it northeast at about 20 from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, really 20 knot winds for the west side. And winds stay relatively light here for the central and eastern coast, 10 to 15. And for tonight again, big storm rolling northward here. High wind warnings out along the southeast coast and even the inland areas there, including Yakutat for gusts 2 or above 60 miles per hour. Some snow back over this Iliamna Lake areas, pretty light, more showery actually. And then area snow here for the Alaska Peninsula. Blowing snow continues for the Bering Sea. And then for tomorrow, that storm weakens, lifts into the eastern Tanana Valley 40-mile country, and winds diminish. Next one poised to move in, and snow and wind again, the Pribilofs into the northern Bering Sea. And for Sunday, that one rolls up into Canada. Another one, kind of iffy on the exact intensity, approaches the southern southeast coast late in the day.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
If you're interested in serving on your local Federal Subsistence Regional Advisory Council, the deadline to apply is Friday, February 3rd. Email subsistence@fws.gov for more information.